Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great hemp news segment for you tonight. We also have a guest, Dale Petersdorf of Project Scarecrow. He'll be talking about the upcoming online Hemp Extravaganza, which is an online worldwide event. We'll be talking about it in a little bit. We have a number of interesting stories for our hemp news as usual and some other surprises. I think we have the state of Jefferson in here with Sunset on the Ganja Farm as a music from a great local band. But without further ado, we'll bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, welcome to our hemp news segment. Tonight we'll start with a story right here in Oregon. Oregon's House Committee on General Government had a hearing this week on Tuesday on House Bill 2445, which will extend the discount at dispensaries for Oregon medical marijuana program patients. Currently, they get about a third off of the price if you're an Oregon medical marijuana patient. And when the law was implemented 6 years ago, they set a 6-year renewal. So every 6 years, the legislature has to vote whether to extend this patient discount. And of course, we're in favor of extending the patient discount. It's coming up for a vote in the House Committee on General Government. And we urge you to contact your state legislators down in Salem, if you're in Oregon, and have them vote yes on House Bill 2445. That's House Bill 2445 to continue allowing sick and dying patients that pay a lot of money for their medical marijuana permit to get a discount when they buy cannabis at dispensaries. Just across the river up in Washington, there's some movement in the legislature as well. There was a hearing on Tuesday with the House Appropriations Committee on House Bill 1019, Washington's House Bill 1019. And so 1/3 of the House legislators are on that committee. And the chair of the House Appropriations Committee introduced this home grow bill, which will allow any person to grow marijuana in their home. I think it will allow 6 plants per person in the state of Washington, which is better than we have here in Oregon. In Oregon, we have 4 plants per household without any permit. This would allow in Washington 6 plants per person in the household to grow. So again, if you're in Washington, contact your legislators in Olympia and tell them to support House Bill 1019. If you're in Oregon, contact your legislators in Salem and tell them to support House Bill 2445. In South Dakota, circuit judge rules against the implementation of a voter-approved marijuana legalization measure. Circuit Court in South Dakota has ruled in favor of litigation backed by the state's governor's office that seeks to nullify Constitutional Amendment A, a voter-initiated measure legalizing the adult use of marijuana in South Dakota. 54% of voters decided in favor of the ballot measure last November. South Dakota Judge Christina Klinger of the state's 6th Judicial Circuit Court ruled late Monday that the measure violates state requirements that ballot measures not encompass more than one topic. The judge also ruled that the measures revises rather than amends the state's constitution and therefore should not be permitted to move forward. Proponents of Measure A, South Dakotans for Better Marijuana Laws, say that they will appeal the ruling to the state Supreme Court. In a Facebook post, the group pronounced, quote, "This is not over. We will appeal. We will prevail." The group also backed another successful ballot measure in November, Measure 26, legalizing medical marijuana access to qualified patients. The results of that vote have not been legally challenged, and the court's ruling does not impact that law's implementation. The lawsuit challenging Amendment A was brought by 2 members of law enforcement at the behest of Republican Governor Kristi Noem. Last month, the governor issued an executive order stating, quote, I directed the law enforcement officers to commence the Amendment A litigation on my behalf, end quote. Prior to the election, Governor Nome publicly opposed both Amendment A as well as Measure 26. Legalization opponents cannot succeed in the court of public opinion or at the ballot box. Thus, they are now seeking to overturn election results in a desperate attempt to maintain cannabis prohibition and their control of our pocketbooks and our freedom. Whether or not one supports marijuana legalization, Americans should be outraged at these overtly undemocratic tactics. To me, it seems that the Republican Party is against democracy. Further information is available online from South Dakotans for Better Marijuana Laws. That's South Dakotans for Better Marijuana Laws. They need your support. Big national poll, more than 6 in 10 Americans say that legalizing marijuana for adults is a good idea, according to nationwide polling data compiled by Emerson College Polling. The pollster surveyed respondents about a series of public policy issues that are anticipated to be taken up by the Democratic-controlled United States Congress, and whether they thought these policies were generally a good idea or a bad idea. Of all the policy issues discussed by the pollsters, the respondents' support was strongest for legalizing cannabis. 61% of those surveyed, including 74% of Democrats, 60% of independents, and 46% of Republicans, categorized legalization as a good idea. By contrast, only 55% of respondents said that establishing new pathways for citizenship was a good idea, and only 54% backed raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Polls consistently show that a strong majority of the public backs efforts to repeal America's failed marijuana prohibition. Given this reality, it would be nothing short of a political malpractice for Democratic leaders to fail to follow through on their pledge to move legislation forward in the 117th Congress in Washington, D.C. to repeal federal cannabis criminalization and to allow states to advance legalization free from undue federal interference. In fact, it would be among the most politically popular policy avenues that leadership could pursue this legislative session. Previous polling compiled by Gallup, Pew, and others have reported that a supermajority of Americans endorse legalizing marijuana. In Virginia, the southern state, members of the Virginia House of Delegates and Senate for the first time ever separately approved a pair of adult-use marijuana legalization measures just last week. Senate Bill 1406 and House Bill 2312 in Virginia legalized the responsible use and personal cultivation of cannabis by adults 21 years of age and older, provides for the automatic expungement process for certain marijuana-related offenses, and establish a regulatory framework for commercial cannabis production, manufacturing, testing, and retail sales. The bills also earmark a portion of revenue to pre-kindergarten programs for at-risk youth, as well as for public health programs. Virginia's HB 2312 was approved by Virginia's House of Delegates by a 55-42 vote, sending it to the Senate for further consideration. The Senate later approved SB 1406 by a 23-15 vote, which will now be transmitted to Virginia's House. Virginia's Governor Ralph Northam said, quote, "The time has come to legalize marijuana in our Commonwealth, and Virginia will get this right," end quote. We hope so. Virginians have been clear in their support for this issue, and Governor Northam agrees it's time to legalize the responsible use of cannabis by adults in Virginia. While today's historic vote seeks to put this majority public opinion into practice, there still remains much work to be done. The bill's passage comes on the day, Virginia's key crossover deadline, when bills must be transmitted to the opposing chamber. The two versions of the bill differ slightly from one another. Lawmakers will likely resolve those issues later in the session in a conference committee. Separate legislative measures facilitating expunging past records, expanding medical cannabis, and protecting certain employees who use cannabis in their off hours from discrimination in the workplace were also approved by their respective chambers of origin and will now cross over to the opposing chamber. 68% of Virginians support legalization. A just released statewide poll data shows 68% of registered voters in Virginia, including majorities of Democrats and Republicans, support legalizing marijuana for adults in Virginia. In Wisconsin, Wisconsin's Governor Tony Evers on Sunday announced his intention to include the legalization of adult marijuana in his forthcoming 2021-23 budget proposal, which will be formally introduced on February 16th. The proposal will allow adults 21 and over to possess up to 2 ounces of marijuana, up to a quarter ounce for out-of-staters like me, and cultivate up to 6 marijuana plants for personal use. Under the plan, medical marijuana access will be permitted for qualifying Wisconsin patients and individuals with certain past convictions would also be allowed to revoke or reduce their sentences, according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. With Evers' proposal, $80 million in revenue in the first year would go towards community reinvestment. Wisconsin's Governor Tony Evers said, quote, legalizing and taxing marijuana in Wisconsin, just like we already do with alcohol, ensures a controlled market and safe product are available for both recreational and medicinal users, and can open the door for countless opportunities for us to reinvest in our communities and create a more equitable state. Frankly, red and blue states across the country have moved forward with legalization, and there's no reason Wisconsin should be left behind when we know it's supported by a majority of Wisconsinites. End quote. According to statewide polling data, 59% of Wisconsin residents support legalizing recreational marijuana, and 83% support legalizing medical marijuana, which are both not allowed now in Wisconsin. Governor Evers had previously included medical marijuana access and decriminalization of low-level possession in his 2019 budget proposal. This marks the first time Evers proposed adult-use marijuana legalization via the budget. In 2020, members of the Madison Common Council, Wisconsin's capital city, where I go annually for the Great Midwest Marijuana Harvest Fest, which is the oldest ongoing marijuana event in the country. This past year would have been the 50th year of that. It's the Great Midwest Marijuana Harvest Fest. But anyway, Madison's Common Council voted to remove most penalties for low-level possession and public consumption of marijuana in the city just last week. In 2018, voters in 16 separate counties in Wisconsin, including Milwaukee County, the largest, approved non-binding ballot questions expressing support for legalization of marijuana for either medical or adult use purposes. Wisconsin's Governor Evers' latest proposal is unlikely, unfortunately, to gain approval from the Republican-led legislature. The next story tonight's from West Virginia. Regulators affiliated with the West Virginia Office of Medical Cannabis began issuing permits this week to dispensary operators and medical cannabis patients nearly 4 years after the state's medical cannabis program was initially signed into law. Regulators so far have granted approval to over 30 providers to operate dispensaries in over 80 locations throughout the state. We can refer you to a physician who could help you get a medical marijuana permit in West Virginia or in any other state in the United States. If you need a referral for medical marijuana, then call our office at 503-235-4606. Again, that's 503-235-4606. Back to West Virginia, registration for eligible patients began on Wednesday. Under the law, qualifying patients can receive cannabis recommendations from physicians who are authorized to participate in the state's access program. An estimated 30 physicians in the state are currently participating in the program. Again, we have a referral service, but in West Virginia, lawmakers initially approved limited medical marijuana access in April of 2017. The legislatures expanded the program in 2019, and in 2020, they amended the law again to allow operators to provide herbal cannabis in addition to infused pills, liquid oils, cream, and dermal patches. For more information, visit West Virginia's Office of Medical Cannabis. That's the West Virginia Office of Medical Cannabis. Again, if you need help locating a doctor anywhere in the United States, including West Virginia, who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, then give our office a call. We have a referral service. Call us at 503-235-4606. That's the end of our Hemp News segment tonight. Now we're going to our interview with Dale Petersdorf of several different groups, including Project Scarecrow. We'll be talking about the upcoming online hemp extravaganza. I'll say it right eventually. The online hemp extravaganza. So it's an online service. We'll be talking about the program. We'll see you in a moment, and help us restore hemp. Good night. I'd like to welcome Dale Petersdorf back on the show for a third time. Dale, you're the founder of Project Scarecrow. Tell our audience about Project Scarecrow.
Well, thanks, Paul. It's good to see you again. Project Scarecrow is a public charity whose mission is to facilitate access to quality of life products, therapies, and services for Oregonians with debilitating medical conditions. And we're working right alongside businesses throughout Oregon, largely in the hemp and cannabis business space, to facilitate donations to these disadvantaged individuals. All of them have the same qualifications for holding a medical cannabis card under the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program. And so that's the demographic of person that we're reaching out to help those folks out.
Okay, how did you come to start Project Scarecrow?
Well, I used to be a grower in Oregon's medical marijuana program. So I had a family member who was using cannabis to deal with some chronically debilitating conditions, several of them at once. And it opened up my eyes to the medical benefits of cannabis. And, you know, and when I left the military back in 2012, and decided that I was going to take on a new mission and help to provide medicine for people who didn't have the necessary means or access to get it themselves. So I became a medical cannabis grower, and when the laws changed here in Oregon, and the OLCC license structure went into place, and Oregon's adult use cannabis regular retail market opened up, there were some rule changes that made it untenable for my farm to continue, because it would have required me to move, and it just it priced me out of the market. I couldn't afford to make the transition to the new system, and
I'm in the exact same boat. I used to help.
A lot of growers were, and a lot of
I can't afford the state regulation and the potential liability of their huge fines and 24/7 access to your home where you're growing at, and citations, and if you forgot to register one plant or put a tag on one plant.
Oh yeah, it was just, it felt like I was under. It felt like they were trying to put everyone that was trying to help out patients under a huge microscope, as if we were guilty for committing crimes when there were none. It's like we were being scrutinized for wrongdoing, even though that we as individuals had provided no evidence to the contrary thus far.
Yeah. So, what if patients want to reach you right now, if they're in need of assistance? How can you assist them, and how can they reach you?
Well, I can be reached at dale@projectscarecrow.org. Patients can also go to our website at projectscarecrow.org and reach out to us there by filling out an application or by contacting us through phone number or email.
And so you're also involved with Omnibudsman Enterprises. Do you want to tell, if I trip over that name?
You did a little bit, but that's okay. It's a little bit of a play on words. Have you ever heard of an ombudsman?
Sure.
Okay, well, an ombudsman is a person who basically goes to the legislature to speak on behalf of a represented party, on legislative matters, oftentimes for industry and business. But so my partner and the president of Omnibudsman Enterprises, Peter Gendron, also known as Pioneer Pete, he's been on the show. He's been on your show with me in the past.
Yeah.
Pete started Omnibudsman Enterprises as a way to help guide people who were entering not only the medical marijuana space, but Oregon's adult use market, as well as and now, with the new emerging hemp industry, which is in its very infantile stages nationwide. We are working with businesses and farmers to help keep them compliant and to be efficient at what they do, and to help grow the industry in an economical and ethical way. There's a lot of businesses out there that are being run in ways that we view are unethical, where certain parts of the business are being operated at a loss, and with the goal to make up those profits in other areas of the business, like for example these large vertically integrated business models where you have a farm and a processor, and then you have a retailer, all stacked up under the same business model. And we just see so much of that framework being used inappropriately and unethically. So we try and focus on what we call collaborative integration, where we encourage our clients and our industry associates to work together instead of everyone trying to succeed alone on their own little island.
Okay. I'd like to
So,
remind our audience that we have Dale Petersdorf of Omnibudsman Enterprises and Project Scarecrow here. Were you going to say something else about Omnibudsman Enterprises work, Dale?
well, I was going to mention that we do have an event that we've been working on all winter. It's called the Online Hemp Extravaganza, and it's going to be taking place inside of a virtual world. We've partnered up with a company called Degi Entertainment, and they've created this um, virtual campus, if you will. Um, it's it's kind of like a video game. The software is kind of like a video game. If anyone is familiar with the video game Grand Theft Auto, where you're running, virtual world in third person, and you have this little character that you see running on your screen that represents you, it's kind of like that, but the world is a bit smaller than in that video in the Grand Theft Auto video game. But there's no crime, there's no violence, and every other character you run into is a real person on the other end of a computer. And the audio experience is very reminiscent, is very good at mimicking a real world experience. Like, for example, if I'm, 10 feet from you in the world, my voice might sound a little fainter as I'm talking to you, but as my character walks closer to your character, my voice gets louder. And it's also directionally sensitive. So this software platform that Degi Entertainment has created, called Degi World, is very good at mimicking the live show experience that a lot of us have enjoyed over the years, like going to a concert or going to a trade show, like the Oregon Hemp Convention or the Indo Expo or the Cannabis Science Conference, as a lot of your listeners may be familiar with, or the THC Fair, for example. There's another example of a live event that we in the cannabis community have enjoyed for years. And 2020 comes along, and all the public venues are done.
Yeah, I had several things scheduled for 2020, and after the last one I went to was in January, the end of January in Texas. And so since then, I had probably another half dozen scheduled, but of course there were dozens others,
I'm
and
sure.
everything got canceled. I went to a couple of events in Jalisco, Mexico, at the end of October and middle of November. But outside of that, I didn't go to any other events. But you and I and Peter Gendron, who were mentioned, and even I believe they say Tommy Chong is going to be participating in this hemp extravaganza.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I should say.
Tommy Chong is going to be there in avatar form, as well as the Pop Brothers at Law. They're going to be giving a cannabis legislation seminar. We've got a list of seminars that are being scheduled as we speak, including a farm and equipment seminar, which is being run by one of Omnibudsman Enterprises associates, a company called Roto Chopper, has come along and said, we want to run the farming and equipment seminar. And so they're a really good group of people. They make some amazing equipment that has traditionally been used in the agricultural industry for breaking down trees and debris like agricultural debris for repurposing like into mulch or bark chips, where they take fallen trees and they'll grind them up into different consistencies to be used for different purposes instead of having to burn it or dispose of it at a cost. They can take these materials and repurpose them into a product that can be sold.
So if someone's interested in participating, you can attend this, or you can also be an exhibitor and have a virtual booth.
Yes.
At the Hemp Extravaganza.
Yes, the online hemp extravaganza is basically an online version of a trade show. So general admission to this event is free. All you got to do is go to the website and register. There's a VIP pass for $7. It'll get you access to the Oregon Fresh Lounge, where I think Tommy is going to spend most of his time. Mr. Chong, and then and if you want to participate as a business or promote whatever your craft is, you can buy a sponsor package, which comes with a booth of your choice and size. We have a 10 by 10. We have the green sponsor package, which has a 10 by 10 booth included with it. The blue sponsor package, which has a 10 by 20, and then I think I do have it in front of me. I actually have. Oh, I'm in the wrong window. There it is. So I want to make sure I don't misquote myself. Going to the website real quick.
I know next week we will have David Rand, who you're working with, and is also an organizer of the online Hemp Extravaganza.
Yes, DJ Danny Rand is our event coordinator. He is the maestro in front of the band, if you will, making all this happen. He's amazing. He's been doing virtual events, online events all winter long. Despite the COVID pandemic, he's managed to continue to put on distanced events where people are participating from their computer or online safely, but all the while we've been working together on developing the Hemp Extravaganza with Deggy World. So let's see, the green sponsor package comes with a 10 by 10 virtual vendor booth. And you can, if everyone wants to, is in front of their computer and they want to follow along, they can go to alreadyhandled.com and click on the online Hemp Extravaganza tab. And so I'm down.
.com.
Alreadyhandled.com. That is DJ Danny Rand, his company. That's his events and promotions and marketing company. And they are a partner of Omnibudsman Enterprises. So we've been working on this stuff together for a while. So let's see. Yeah, so the blue sponsor package has a 10 by 20 virtual booth, and the gold sponsor package has a 20 by 40 virtual booth. So it's a pretty good chunk of the expo hall that you're going to be in, which there are 3 of, by the way. 3 full-size expo halls on this virtual campus that we're going to be holding this event on. There's also a soccer field. There is virtual boats.
Virtual soccer.
Yes, you can go play virtual soccer during the event. It's going to be 3 days long. Who wants to sit in lecture halls or walk around a vendor hall all day long? Get out, go have some fun, play some soccer, drive some boats around in the ocean. Yeah, there's virtual boats that you can drive around in the ocean.
In the virtual ocean.
In the virtual ocean, yes.
So you're going to do presentation there. Is Peter going to be part of that, or is he doing a separate presentation?
Peter is going to be in world. He's going to be giving at least one, lecture style talk. and I'm going to be interviewing all of our guests, all of our guest speakers, our seminar leaders, if you will. So, and that's gonna be part of our Speaking for the Trees interview series, and Speaking for the Trees podcast. So that's the new project that we're working on. We're gonna start debuting that kind of content at this event in Deggy World.
I see. So I know I am scheduled for an event on the 1st, which I think is the last day, March.
Yes.
I'm going to give my presentation on the evolution of hemp, the first 25,000 years. I'm going to try to make a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll see how that works. That's the one my most popular one that I give at the various events I go to. So
That's right.
we'll see how that goes.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to see it. I've not seen this presentation of yours before. You give it all the time, but we're both so busy that I hardly have the opportunity to sit down and listen.
Right. Well, I haven't given it in many places locally. I gave it in Denver. Yeah, that's really the only place locally. I've given it all over the world in Latin America and Japan. But anyway, it'll be interesting to try. I've given it online a couple of times too, in a couple of different virtual realities. The folks down at Expo Weed in Mexico had a real nice kind of a space age theme. It looked like you were on a space station.
Oh my.
Their world. It was kind of cool. Unless you walked off the edge and then you just went floating off into space. Or just get out and get back in again.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like an interesting experience, to say the least.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing already. So the campus is already set up, though, you say, at alreadyhandled.com.
Yes. Well, no, the campus does not exist at alreadyhandled.com, but if people want to go and check out the details of what all is involved in this event and how they can get registered, then you want to go to alreadyhandled.com and click on the Online Hemp Extravaganza tab.
Okay.
And
is there anything else you'd like to say about that right now? I know we'll have Danny Rand on next week to talk about it as well, but
you guys are going to get an earful from Danny. He is so excited about this, and he's been working really, really hard. So I'm pretty sure that there's nothing that I can say that he won't be able to elaborate on when you interview him.
So tell me about Omnibudsman Enterprises. You're working with that as well as Peter?
Yes, I'm the sales director for Omnibudsman Enterprises, and we, like I said, our huge focus right now has been in the hemp industry. We've acknowledged that there is a severe lack of consistent education, not only amongst the participants in the hemp industry, especially because a lot of the traditional farmer types have traditionally stayed away from hemp and cannabis because, well, it was not legal for the longest time. So a lot of the people who are getting into hemp and hemp farming have a learning curve that they need to deal with when it comes to growing and farming and harvesting and processing this plant, especially when it comes to for industrial purposes. There's a lot of folks out there that are, I guess we call it the hemp hooray crowd, which I'm myself am partially guilty for being a part of, where I get really excited about all these wonderful products and that can be made out of hemp. But one of the huge gaps that we're finding is that a lot of people are getting into farming, and there's a lot of people that are getting into making, innovative products out of hemp. But there's a huge gap between those two, and that's processing. that's taking the material from the farm and putting it through a process to turn it into a manufacturing ingredient, like, varying grades of separated hurd or fiber. Because those are the main essential building blocks of hemp sticks, stems and stalks. When the flower is removed, all you have is the hurd, which is the woody pulp, and your fibrous material, the fiber that we use for textiles and things like that.
Bast fiber.
Yeah, the bast fiber.
Which is the bark. It's like the bark of the tree.
Yeah, it's the outer sheath of the plant where a lot of that bast fiber, where that bast fiber is located, and that inner core, that woody part, that's the hurd.
And the bast fiber, the bark, has been used from time immemorial, not just for ropes, but for canvas and lace and linen and lots of products, specialty papers like tobacco, and it's often rolled in hemp fiber. And so it's needs to be produced here locally, though.
Oh, agreed. And that's what we're working with. We're working with local hemp farmers. A lot of them are out in the Midwest right now, and we're encouraging them to, plant their acres in hemp. And that's a big push for us, is because with those farmers growing, hemp for fiber and hurd, then we can then connect the dots to these product manufacturers, because, somebody says, oh, I can make, a hemp 2x4. Well, that's great. Well, part of the problem with that is that a 2x4 does not a unit of lumber make. So in order for the hemp industry to really blossom and grow and mature, is to develop the processing side of the industry, so that we can actually start making some of these wonderful, innovative products at scale and make them affordable.
I've recently seen a green hemp casket on sale in Kentucky.
That green hemp casket?
Right, a hemp casket. It's made out of hemp fiber. It's an interesting product. Then our friend who puts on the NOCO Hemp Conference, he is getting hemp wood and making it into both guitars and amps, the body of the amplifier and other musical instruments and things like that. So we're seeing more and more of these products coming online, fortunately.
That's very cool. Well, one of the innovative technologies that I'm really looking forward to is making biodegradable plastics with hemp. That's what excites me. I think that right now the technology only allows a certain percentage of hemp to be used in plastic polymers. But like I said, I'm still learning, but a percentage is enough if all the other inputs are also biodegradable.
Back in the 90s, a fellow in England by the name of Paul Benham started making some hemp plastics. That's the first time I saw it. They used them for CD covers. I think the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws put out a benefit CD called Hempilation and Hempilation 2 that were packaged in this hemp plastic. He also had flying discs like Frisbees as well that were available then. But since then, Benham has moved to Australia and Tasmania and works with Exenol, a big extract maker in Asia and in Australia. And so, and in hemp seed production out of Tasmania and Australia. So he's very, very active. I know his company is public now too, but he's not really focusing on the plastic. He's really focusing on the food and the extracts with his company, Exenol.
Very cool.
Another friend of mine who lives in Central Oregon, he harvested a crop of CBG flowers that were high in CBG, and he's having trouble marketing it. CBG is supposed to be more valuable, but he says he's not really getting offers more than 200 a pound for his trim CBD. I know the guy is an expert grower. He works with the Seattle Hemp Fest, and he helped start the Seattle Hemp Fest, in fact, Jim Matheson, with the band called the Herbivores. And so he is having a problem finding a market for his high quality CBG flower. Is that something you folks help with?
Perhaps. I'd love to get in contact with him if you wouldn't mind providing an introduction. I'd be happy to speak with him and introduce him to the team and see if there's anything we can do to help him. One of the potential ways that he may be able to get help in the very near future is to register a booth at our online hemp extravaganza, because we're going to have a COA buyers and sellers mixer during the event, where people will be able to get connected with, people who have product to sell, and those who want to buy said product can get together and strike up a deal. And we want to make that environment available at our event.
Great. It'd be good to get people in other parts of the country that, because we're so swamped with hemp here in Oregon, there are other parts of the country that don't have the access that we do. Maybe you can get the word out in other areas. Maybe this show will help a little bit.
You're helping right now.
I'm trying. Another one that I worked with, when I went to the expo in Texas, the Texas Hemp Expo. Same people who put on the Texas Hemp Expo bought the Oregon Hemp Expo from Jerry Norton. The folks are up in Seattle, a team of folks at Kush.com. And they have an online marketplace. I'm not in the market, but still I get some promotions for various products, CBD products, other hemp products. So I know they're trying to line growers and producers up with buyers. And that's another place that people might look at Kush.com. But already handled is the place to go get a booth for this event. Does it start on the 28th of March, or no, it's the 30th, 31st, and 1st, right?
Well, I'm pretty sure there's only 28 days in February. So it's going to be the 27th, the 28th, and the 1st.
Okay, that's right. Except on leap year, last year. Okay.
Right.
So the 27th, 28th, and the 1st of February, that already handled.
That's right. And if you want to get a booth, you got to sign up by the 15th. And
that's coming pretty quick.
It is, but we got to be able to get all that digital content up on your booths and for marketing and advertising throughout the event.
Well, I'll be there. I know you'll be there. So if someone wants to
register for your general admission pass, it doesn't cost a thing.
That's a good price.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people can stay for that. I know you've got some other folks. Who else is on the agenda for the Oregon, the Hemp Extravaganza?
The online Hemp Extravaganza. We're going to be having a genetics seminar run by our breeder partner out of Central Oregon, Davis Farms. We are also, I think I mentioned the Prop Brothers at Law. There's going to be Jason Gann from Wilford's Hemp and CBD. If any of you are familiar with the show Wilford.
He was at the Seattle Hemp Fest, which was a virtual event I think they did it in October this year. But it's having a real one. But he's got some TV show, I guess, on one of the many cable channels out there, right?
Yes, I believe the show is called Wilford.
I see. And so this is a human in a dog costume, and he smokes marijuana. Is that what he does?
Okay, so based on my limited exposure to the show, Wilford is the name of the the co-star's dog, and the dog is played by Jason Gann, dressed up in a dog suit.
I've
And
never seen the show, but I saw him at the Seattle Hemp Fest online.
yeah, and I think that the co-star is the only one who can hear what Jason Gann is saying, what the dog is saying. And it's about their relationship. I haven't gotten very much into the show. I don't watch a whole lot of TV these days. No offense to Mr. Gann, but I did see the show. I did enjoy.
Yeah.
So we've got a hemp and fashion seminar that's going to be run by Karen Averill of Camouflage Designs. We're going to have a hemp and tech seminar run by Omnibudsman Enterprises' own Mark McCulley, who's our business director. I mentioned the farming and equipment seminar being headlined by Roto Chopper. We've also got a supporting local seminar, which is going to be run by Rue Grostein of Local Smoke. We've got a cannabis imagery seminar that's going to be headlined by Mr. Malcolm McKinnon. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that name, but Mr. McKinnon was a photographer for High Times for many years, and he's coined with photographing many pioneers in the hemp and cannabis, realm over the years and back into antiquity. We've got the People and Pets seminar. That's going to be headlined by Jason Gann of Wilford CBD and Hemp.
So he'll help with pets, even will he be in costume?
I don't know if he'll be in costume, but he will be there in avatar form for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, at the Seattle one, he was in costume.
Oh goodness. Well, he might be in costume, but I'm not sure if he's gonna show up on the webcam live or not. But maybe we can talk to DJ Danny Rand about that when we have him on.
I'll be talking to him here next week for our viewers. We'll talk a little bit more about the online hemp extravaganza, right?
Well, I've got two more seminars to mention. We've got the Project Scarecrow seminar, where I'm going to be talking about Project Scarecrow and its mission. But last but not least, of course, is the Common Sense seminar run by our very own Paul Stanford.
And I'll be giving my the 25,000 year history of cannabis, the evolution of cannabis. So being over various countries and their history with hemp, which some of them I have an intimate knowledge of. But anyway, so if someone wants to reach Omnibudsman Enterprises, how do they find that?
Well, you can reach me directly. I'm the sales director at area code 503-510-5100. But it's probably best to reach out to the whole team via our group email at team, TEAM, at omnibudsmanenterprises.com.
And what services will you be selling again?
So we provide consulting services, business development, and legislative representation on behalf of our clients. So we oftentimes it's our job to find the problems in somebody's business before it causes them problems.
Makes sense.
And we can help you. We can often help you fix those problems before they end up costing you more than we do.
Yeah, I have seen many farmers get into hemp, especially last year.
Mm-hmm.
Who didn't know how they were going to harvest it, how they were going to cure it. So many people lost their shirt. Typically farmers know who they're going to sell their crop to before they plant it.
Right.
And we haven't got to that level of planning yet for farmers. Once we do have futures available for hemp fiber, hemp seed, for oil and protein, I think it'll make it a lot easier for farmers. But and hopefully there'll be a change in the whole federal scheduling this year. I know the leaders in the United States Senate say they're going to pass the Safe Banking Act to allow cannabis and hemp businesses access to banking services. It's hard to handle tons of cash all the time safely.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's a big drawback for cannabis businesses. So if our representatives in Washington and our representatives in Oregon are leading the way in pushing these changes. So if anyone's watching in other parts of the country, contact your legislators and urge them to support the Safe Banking Act and cannabis law reform. I know that this is the year, finally, after all these years, finally the federal government will change, seems to be on the verge of changing federal policy.
Well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and keep doing my part to fight the good fight and free this plant, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yep, as shall we. So we're coming down to the end of the show here, Dale. We've had Dale Petersdorf of Project Scarecrow, Omnibudsman Enterprises, and the online hemp extravaganza. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing here, Dale?
In closing, I just want to remind everybody that if you believe in something, keep going for it. No matter what anybody says, no matter how difficult it gets, if you truly believe you're doing the right thing at the core of your being, keep going. Don't give up.
Persistence pays. I want to thank you for coming on again, Dale. And if I don't see you before, I'll see you in that virtual world that alreadyhandled.com has coming with the online hemp extravaganza. And if someone wants to see that online presentation that I'm making, I'll be doing that on March 1st. Is yours on February 27th or 28th?
Oh, let me go back real quick and I will tell you.
I know I posted a picture with Dale, not you, but with Peter in it regarding.
Mine is going to be on March 1st, same day as yours.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully not at the same time.
No, definitely not.
All right. Well, thanks again, Dale. I appreciate it. And we'll keep working to restore hemp.
That's right. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure.
Ignition sequence start.
Got any extra room, sir?
Man, this sucks.
Oh man, it's not so bad. It's a beautiful day. Just gonna work out, bro. Just gotta put your head up.
Cash money?
Oh yeah, man. Well, you just so easy. Just kick back. I mean, I've heard about this. You know, you just kick back, you just snip as fast as you can. But I mean, whatever. The longer you work, the more you get paid. So.
I'm not so sure about this. Sounds good to me, man.
Oh, bro, I'm telling you, paid, man. We got paid.
Where you guys going?
Anywhere.
Right answer.
Nowhere. All right.
From a child living in a wild life. Call it how you heal when you're bleeding from hindsight. Resolute solution, body pollution, the right kind. Medicate, stimulate, brace your arms. The choice we make ourselves, but others cross this global place. All out with the troubles that bring time to pass. Bring us all together for this. We're on the right path. Sunset on the Contra Falls. Things are faithful these days. We pray here with our open arms. colors of this rainbow, knowing that life will lead. Uncertainty seems finished by adversity. So spread wide, don't hide. Integrity, calling all nations for unity and peace. Spread wide, don't hide. We younger brothers, mother, calling all nations to forgive one another. Sunset